Welcome to Base Building with Daisy. Building skills. All new, building above or below the base. Homecoming has just completely changed the game regarding building above and below the base, so I thought I'd revisit the topic with the newer and more complete information. I'm going to quickly take you through the setup to start building. Then I will go into some very important considerations you should make before you get started, so please stay tuned. We're going to click Edit Plot to give us the size plot we want to use. I'm using the largest. Right click to turn it so I'm facing the longest part, and I put the entry room in the corner, then left click to place. I exit and go to Edit Base. Click Create Room. I'm also using the largest room, so I go to Huge and get the 24 by 24 room. Click to place. Now go to Pick Style. In Pick Style, find High Ceilings. Change to Open Sky with the new option Pass Through if you like, and then go to Place Item. Now you can see the room window. Click on a room section and remove the top two sections. Apply that to the room. Now you're out of the base. Time to set up to build. I'm choosing to fill my base, so I pull up a section to fill it, and then apply that to the room. Go to the first tab, Editor Helpers, and get the surface tower if you're building higher than just on top of the base. This beauty goes all the way to the top. Pick out where you're going to start building and place a surface tile, and you're ready to go. I want to bring up a few things to consider. Building above or below gains you an uninterrupted horizon, but there are a few trade-offs you need to be aware of. First, you will lose inherent lighting that's inside of a base. This lighting is tintable also, which isn't possible anywhere else. This means that if you build outside of the base, you will have to either go with outdoor lighting or hand light everything individually. With outdoor lighting, you can't actually add light to anywhere, even when it's an interior at night, and the colors of everything will generally be a bit different and more muted at night. There are two skies that you can go with that are always day, but both have drawbacks. Cimarrora is fairly dusty, and lighted pathways are really bright. The farther away from the physical base you get, the greater the shift errors will be. Shift drives builders crazy. Shift is the movement of items after they've been placed, usually making things get out of alignment. Sometimes you can compensate for it, sometimes nothing seems to help. And of course, you will have no walls or floors built in already. You'll have to create everything. And sometimes that's an advantage. If you build in the base, you will have to decide what to do with the base wall. Are you going to use it or hide it? Base walls can be hidden with mountains, grass hills, or buildings. Now that the ceiling can be made not only invisible, but so that people can actually fly through it, I feel that the only reason to build above the base is so that you don't see the base walls. If you have multiple rooms and you don't want to see the base walls, that becomes a really big reason to build above the base. So after you've weighed the advantages and the disadvantages, and if you've decided to build outside of the base, well, now let's look at how you do that. First, remember that you need a base room above or below where you intend to build. So decide on how large your base will be, and get the room or rooms that will cover all of the space you will need. Here are some factors to consider, and planning is key. So if you have the largest plot and one large room, the advantages are you don't have any dead zones where you can't place items. Dead zones are places where you can't place doors on the corners of rooms. This means you can't place items in that doorway, only items that are large enough to be anchored in an adjacent room and cross over or into the dead area. Another advantage is you can build to whatever size you like, and there are no worries about needing a larger room and being unable to upgrade, because you can't upgrade a room if you've built in it to a larger size room without taking everything out, deleting the room, and putting in a new one and doing everything over again. So disadvantages. There's lag. Lag in placing items and potentially in people visiting the base. It kind of depends on your computer system as to how much lag you might have while you're building. Most people have a lot as the item count gets larger and larger. You have one floor, one wall design, one lighting choice and one set of colors if using anything that's related to the base itself. So if you have a smaller plot and smaller room or rooms, the advantages are, obviously, lag is better if you have a higher item count. And if you're building in the base, you can vary the style and the lighting per room. Disadvantages, of course, you have the dead zones at the corners of the rooms. You cannot move up to the larger room once you've built in a room without destroying what you have in rebuilding. And if you don't plan ahead, you may run into trouble with layout and dead zones. Filled doors will disappear from the map, but can't be built in. Place doors and do not fill them to be able to place items there, but now they will show on the map. In other words, place the doorway and don't fill it to be able to build in it or over it. I am going to use the largest room and plot for my demonstration, so I go to Upgrade Plot in the entry room, or I type /edit base space 3 to get to the plot menu. Remember that you will always enter the base facing south and plan your entry accordingly. So that I'm facing the largest part of the base, I'm going to turn this plot with a right click so that it is now longer than it is wide, and then place it with a left click. If you want to move the plot, simply reselect the size you want and place it differently. If I'm placing the largest room, and for this example I am, I will make sure the entry room is in the far end of the base plot so that I have space to place the largest room, which is 24 by 24. Since the plot is 24 by 28, this leaves plenty of room if you make sure the entry is at the end of the plot. Now I'm going to place the room. I select it and again click to place. Now I'm ready to build. To be able to access the outside of the base while I build, I will need to open up the ceiling of the base in the entry room. To do this, I make sure I have my object window open. You open that from your editing bar. Those words on the far upper left of the bar, chat, room, object. If you want more than one window open at a time, and I do, click the blue radial button in the corner to separate it from the editing bar, and then place it where you want it. So I click on a room section, and in the object window, I see that it has sections labeled that I could remove them, so I click on these sections to get rid of them. If I'm going to want the entry room open for everyone, I'm also going to apply this to the room. Now I go to Pick Style and find the tab for High Ceilings. In the Ceiling tab, you will find Open Sky and also now the option to make it pass through for anyone, even out of editing mode. Choose the one you'd like. Now you have access to the outside of the base. Now if you're not going to build inside the base at all, you will probably want to fill the base, so it's less visually distracting and easier to build on top of it. To fill the base, simply select a room section as we did in the entry and look at the object window again. This time, click to add until the column is solid, or simply grab the section with your mouse and pull up. Once you have a solid column in that section, look at the buttons below the room section and click Apply to Room. At this point, you'll want to move the base portal to outside of the entry room unless you want to set up a teleportation system from inside of the base to outside of the base or fly through the ceiling. If you want to do this and aren't sure how, check out my video on setting up intra-base teleporters. To move the base portal, simply make sure to enable clipping, which is F3, and then grab it by clicking and holding the mouse button while you move it to where you want the portal to be. Once the base has been filled in, the top of it will act the same as a floor. And now, if you'd like to fill in the entire base, including the entry room, simply select a section that's been filled in and click on the button that says Apply to Base in the window, or you can just apply it to the room. The advantage of filling in the entry room is you won't be pulled back to the entry room when you enter edit mode, although you still will be yanked to next to it when you exit editing mode. Some people are worried that if they don't enter the entry room, they won't be able to access the editing command, but you can access that outside of the entry room from anywhere in the base. Simply type /editbase1. Now comes the easy part thanks to our base developer. Go to Place Item and the first tab, Editor Helpers. Look for the Surface Tower. If you want to be able to fly through it, get the first one listed. If you prefer to be able to walk on it, get the one that says (COL) under it. When placed on the lowest level of the floor in a base, this will go all the way to the top of the available space above the base. with 18 levels, each one base room high. You can lay surface tiles on top of this for a building surface. Now, if the tiles have collision, they will stay visible, but tiles without collision will not be apparent, even though they are still there and still counting in your item count. I do recommend removing these once you are done building. The surface tower has building surfaces anywhere it has a surface, so you can decide what height you want and simply place a surface tile and start building. If you want to build underneath the base, I would recommend changing the attachment of the tower to ceiling and then place it on the ceiling. Change attachment with F5. I did this because if you try to turn it upside down, the tower simply flips and is no lower than it was before. But if you attach the bottom of the tower to the ceiling, it will be oriented the opposite way. If you need to go lower, you can attach another tower to the first tower on surface. And do this again until you've reached the level you'd like to work at, and then build from there. Place a surface tile at the level at which you'd like to work, and then you can delete the surface towers. And remember, the farther down you go, the worse your base shift is. So, quick review. First, decide if building outside of the base is worth the trade-offs. Then plan the plot size, the room size, and the layout. Select the plot, place the room or rooms. Then open up the sky so you can get out of the base while editing. Fill in the base as needed and use the surface tower to set up a building surface at whatever height you'd like. And you are ready to start building. Have fun, and thanks for watching.